She likes jumping. Good evening. So, I had never listened to a podcast before in my life, but a friend of mine recommended one to me called Wrestling Changed My Life. The introductory collection of quotes from famous wrestlers to every episode is the same. We can endure anything and adapt and pivot and change. Wrestling gave us that ability. Adversity, 100%. How to pick myself up and be a man after I failed. We're fortunate if you wrestled, because if you wrestled, natural talent helps, but it's 5% of the ingredient. It pales in comparison to heart and technique and effort. It humbled me, taught me humility. You know, probably back in my time I spent wrestling, if it gave you one thing more than anything else, it's mental toughness. So that short collection of quotes is the first thing that you hear, and it immediately pulled me in, because this is how I've felt about the sport of wrestling since I first started 30 years ago. For me, the mental toughness gained from this sport has propelled me through all of life's great obstacles. I didn't have the wrestling pedigree that some have. Wrestling's not a tradition in my family. My father never wrestled. I got my start in wrestling at a summer camp in North Carolina when I was in 8th grade. A couple of the counselors were former wrestlers, and they taught a class after dinner one night. Basically, that just meant we ended up rolling around in the grass for a few hours, but something about it stuck. So Scott Billings, my head coach, pulled me out of the halls in 9th grade at Gainesville High School and told me I should wrestle. And he was really trying to recruit my best friend, Jeff, who benched 300 pounds. I was just this tall, skinny kid. I was never a great technical wrestler. I was always amazed at how much better my wrestlers were than me. But the mental aspect of this sport appealed to me. I didn't like to lose, and the fact that willpower could prevent that made quite an impression. The last match of my career, I got teched 15-0 by Florida great Corey Hill from Springstead, but it lit a fire in me, and I'll never forget walking around the halls of the St. Pete Bayfront Center, reading the team scores taped to the walls and wondering, how did teams like Springstead and Venice and St. Thomas and Swanee and of course Brandon end up at the top every single year? Well, hard work and a little bit of luck was the answer. So wrestling had made such an impact on me that after my wrestling career was over at 18 years old, I ran up to the school and asked Jim Zaruba, my technique coach, if I could be his assistant. And he agreed, and that was the start of the journey. And I've been involved in some form or another with Gainesville High School wrestling for 30 years, and now we're here. But Brian Smith, the head coach of the University of Missouri, once told me that one of the first steps in building a great team is to develop an identity and to own it. The Crossface Cradle series became such a part of our Gainesville High School cultures that still to this day I get calls to show it around the state. And too many times I remember our wrestlers getting into the third period, picking top, locking up a cradle, and then the match was over. So from the cradle to the grave. Thank you. The best part about all wrestling is when we compete. If you put it in the proper time and effort, there's nothing more exciting than the competition, and I love the preparation. Painted on our wrestling room door was the saying, "Practice is the daily foundation to becoming a champion." We didn't have middle school wrestling, we didn't have a dominant kids club, but what I could control was practice. And I made it a tough, grueling day every day. And I lived it. You have to eat, sleep, and breathe wrestling to attain the success that you want. I missed countless family vacations, friends' weddings, college graduation, all for the sake of this sport. And a huge part of that success is being present. I only missed 10 practices in 20 years. That's one of the things I'm most proud of. The culmination of the entire season is a state tournament, and even though we have win-loss records and district and regional placings, every individual and team have a chance at becoming a champion, and I'm proud to say that Gainesville High School teams shine the brightest on the biggest stage. In the spring of 2006, we had just taken home a trophy from the state tournament, and there we were the following weekend headed to Brandon High School for a summer tournament. And I happened to be in the locker room during weigh-ins, and Russ Cozart walked in. He saw my Gainesville wrestling shirt and looked at me and said, "That's the toughest Gainesville team I've ever seen." Now, he probably won't remember that interaction, but for someone whose success I tried to emulate to a small degree, it meant the world. It made me feel like our team had arrived. So a lot of people have helped me along this journey, and I could spend all night thanking each and every one of you, but there's a few that I have to mention. So for the UF club team members, the referees, and the Hall of Fame, thank you guys. My partner, Jamie, never in her wildest dreams that She thinks she'd go to not one, but now 3 Wrestling Hall of Fame banquets. She's a lucky girl. My close friends, while there's always been some good-natured teasing and eye-rolling every time I said, I can't go, I got a tournament this weekend, I know deep down you all supported me to the fullest. Gainesville High School, I remember coaches being shocked that my athletic director or principal were at the state tournament every year supporting us and cheering us on, and it made a difference. Coaches, Pankey, Sal, Swinson, Walker, Crowder, Birch, Pafford, Laxton, Reap, Goog, Ballard, Scott, Dufresne, Campbell, McMath, Irwin, Perselli, so many more, too many more to name. Each of you helped mold me. I wanted to beat every one of you, so don't get me wrong, but without you, I wouldn't be here, and I learned from all of you. Assistant coaches, I can count on one hand the number of coaches that came out and said they were going to stay with me all year, and actually did. Jason Grindstaff, Mike Hagney, Patrick McDonald, and John Davis. Those of you who stayed, I'm honored to have sat in the corner with you. And while this may be an individual award, nothing, absolutely nothing in this sport and our life is done alone. Wrestling parents, you were the lifeblood of our program. I'm sure some of you thought I was crazy when we set our goals, but you never complained, at least not within earshot. You supported the wrestlers on the team like no other, and without you, we have no team. And the wrestlers, I can't thank you all enough. You were the ones that braved coming through the doors of the wrestling room. You suffered through 3-hour practices, gave up your summers and vacations, and made it all possible with your sacrifices, hard work, and determination. You trusted me, the process, and our program. It's easy to step out on the mat when you know you're going to win, but true courage is when you toe the line against someone you know is better than you, and you still go out and give it your all. You guys brought home a trophy from the state tournament, one of just 6 schools in North Florida history to do so. And you guys all changed my life for the better. The Davis family, you're the first family of Gainesville wrestling with 5 state titles between you and all D1 wrestlers. Without your help and guidance and wrestling ability, I wouldn't be here today. Jeff, you were instrumental in getting me here, and for that I'll be forever grateful. Scott and Jim, I wouldn't be here without Scott Billings. He saved the Gainesville High School wrestling program from being cut in 1991, and he pulled me out of the halls and encouraged me to wrestle. He taught me the foundations of what it was to be a good coach and a great man. Jim Zaruba, my wrestling coach, drilled into me the basics of wrestling every day, which mimic the basics of life. You get pinned, you get back up, you start again. He brought an old school Iowa mentality that I was immediately drawn to, and without those two, there's no success. My parents, Mom, thank you for being my mom first. You were the woman behind the scenes, always willing to help. You're an inspiration to me in so many ways. And Dad, thank you for showing me the way. You showed me a work ethic at a young age that was unrivaled. I know there were many sacrifices made for my sister and me that we don't even know about, and for that, thank you. You both helped me achieve my dreams, and all that you did may seem to go unnoticed and underappreciated at times, but you both mean the world to me. I'll leave you on this thought, and this goes to the voters of this prestigious establishment, and I urge you, no, I implore you to look north. There are only 14, now 15 members of this respected group from North Florida to the Panhandle. North Florida wrestling has been successful since the first section tournament in 1965, and there have been many successful coaches and programs that deserve your consideration for this great honor. Thank you.